So I was provided access by Nintendo to play an early preview of Mario and Luigi Brothership. To set up the game premise for you, it takes place in a land called Concordia, a world that was shattered into islands due to the destruction of a giant tree. Now, Mario and Luigi are just randomly transported to this world by a mysterious light in the sky where they meet Connie and Snout. And Snout's this little pig-like creature that likes to insist that it's not a pig. And their objective is to reconnect islands to restore energy to the broken world. Now, the demo that I played was broken into two parts. The first half was more about learning basic controls, exploration, and some initial combat. This took place on an island called Twistee Island. And the second half focused on more advanced mechanics and deeper gameplay elements, specifically the battle stuff, which is insane and probably my favorite part of this game. Also, if you're wondering who's next to me in these live shots of me playing the game, this is David from Nintendo, who was guiding me through this playthrough. So thank you, David. My playthrough started off on Ship Shape Island. And before we go to our first island, I want to talk about this place specifically. You can think of this as a home base of operations or the main hub for Mario and Luigi during their journey. Now, this ship is huge. In fact, it's called an island. You'll have vendors here that give you armor. You can explore around the area, talk to various different people on the ship. And something interesting is as you complete different missions, various NPCs will start to show up. You'll get different unlocks. And something fun about this ship, you can even control the speed of the ship as it heads towards the island. And I want to point out in this clip, you can see it on my live playthrough here, this Toad steers a lot faster when you increase the ship. Now, at the front of the ship on Ship Shape Island is a cannon that has a telescope attached on the top. So first, what you want to do is you look through this telescope to identify the island that you're close by, followed up by a discovered screen that says what the island's name is, which in this case was Twistee Island. Then you get to choose to blast off with an awesome animation.
Mario.
Now, as you can see, this island is very unique and you get a nice quick overview of the island as you show up. And I'm going to be honest, the art style is so clean in this game. Now, each island has their own mission or task to complete. Something interesting to note is depending on the choices that you make in the game, this can either be Island 2 or Island 3 in the sequence. Now, there's a few features I want to talk about. Luigi automatically follows Mario as you walk through the world. If you press X with Mario, he swings his hammer, while pressing Y with Luigi swings his hammer. This will be very useful in combat later. Also, pressing A makes Mario jump, while pressing B makes Luigi jump. This was a little bit tricky to learn, but as I kept playing, I got used to this mechanic. Now, on islands, you'll find these glowing spots called sprite bulb nests that you can interact with, and these sprites all run around. You can press L to send Luigi after them, while you're also chased after some yourself. This L does show up a lot on Luigi, and it's smart to put the L with Luigi because there's going to be objects that he can just break for you while you're focusing on certain tasks. Now, these sprite bulbs aren't something random or just a collectible with no significant purpose. In fact, they're actually going to be used for unlocking something that we'll talk about later called plugs and act as the currency for that. Now, the specific plot for this island was being able to link it so this character Make Kit can be linked back with their mom named Wilma. But there was a whole nother quest on this island which involved you having to find an item to give to this person called the Groove Master, who lost his groove, which caused the entire town to just not be there in the center. So your goal is to basically make this town lively again. So to do this, I had to head over to a forest area and go through enemies like this flying enemy and this boar enemy. And I'm not going to talk about combat too much here, since that's going to be more for the next section, but I actually learned that you have to use jump attacks for flying enemies because hammer attacks aren't effective against them, and hammer attacks are super effective on anything that is within reach. Eventually, after all that, I was able to meet a character named Spiralia, who was terrified of bugs. But here's the fun part, there was a mini game where Mario and Luigi had to carry her to bring her over to a destination, and you had to avoid a bunch of little squirmy bugs on the floor, otherwise you'd have to restart the entire mini game of carrying her over again. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, I had to do this a few times and had to memorize the pattern of these bugs because it was a little tricky. So don't let this gameplay provided by Nintendo make you think it's a walk in the park. It's a little tricky. On top of that, you have to pass her back and forth between Mario and Luigi when trying to get up to a platform, which takes a bit of coordination. After that, though, if you're successfully able to do that, she gives you a quest item, you head back to town, and you hand it over to the person named the Groove Master. I also wanted to point out one of my favorite parts of the game is Mario just having Italian sound effects coming out of his mouth. And all the other characters seem to have voices similar to villagers, which I don't mind, actually. After that, you then get a really fun scene with the Groove Master, and beyond all the combat in the game, it's just filled with a bunch of minigame sequences, including even this rhythm sequence that Mario and Luigi do after this quest line. Now, once you complete a main task on an island, it's then time to do the main thing, which is to head to the lighthouse, activate it to get this really cool sequence.
Okay.
Once it links back to the base, it causes new content, like I mentioned before, to be unlocked, like side quests, different areas, and interaction between NPCs, and a lot more. Also, if you haven't noticed, the whole theme of this game is electric stuff and plugs, because all the characters look like you can put an outlet into their heads. The next island we'll be going to is Merrygo Island, and on this island is where you get to see a lot more combat, my favorite part of this entire video, and the mechanics involved with it. But before that, I want to talk about this new gameplay mechanic they introduced called Luigi Logic. And it's actually a lot of fun because Luigi comes up with the most unconventional solutions for problems. And one example of that during my preview was Mario and him turning into a spinning UFO to literally cross large gaps. Honestly, I can't wait to see how many other crazy Luigi Logics exist, and you'll see another one on Merrygo Island, which isn't as crazy as this one though. All right, so now we increase the ship speed, which you can actually see happening in the minimap and the background. And then we're gonna head to the front of the ship and look into the telescope to identify the next island, and there it is, Merrygo Island, and then we press A to fire Mario and Luigi into it. Now this island, as you can see, is completely different in artwork and appearance from the previous one, and it has more of a carnival theme-like appearance to it. And it's really cool to see that the developers really took their time to make each island extremely unique. Now, the previous island's whole thing was getting around bugs as a little puzzle, while this one is going to be this entire puzzle maze. But because this is Mario and Luigi Brothership, you have to work together, and Luigi Logic kicks in, so Luigi decides to stay at the bottom of this while Mario goes to the top to get an overview. That way, Luigi can hit the button on the bottom however many times you need to do it, because it's a whole puzzle thing until you figure out the right direction and you go explore the maze. Now, within this crazy maze were really tough enemies, like this flying bird that has a springy neck, and this metal tree trunk, or this giant spike ball, which leads into some insane combat I got to experience. Now, besides just being a turn-based combat, I think the most fun about this is being able to learn the timing mechanics of certain enemies via visuals and seeing the sound cues, and being able to dodge or counterattack them. But on top of this entire gameplay, they added a really fun gameplay feature known as plugs. These essentially are going to act as combat modifiers that can be equipped to Mario and Luigi. Now, plugs are going to be able to grant you unique abilities like status effects or special move enhancements. And the really cool part is that you can combo these plugs to get even more cool effects like this. Now, in order to create the plugs, you have to have a specific currency that I did talk about earlier that you get from sprite bulbs. And as you create more plugs, more actually start to unlock. And there are just so many. Just look at this list. Some great ones that work on this island is going to be the anti-flying specialist and the anti-spike specialist, which individually are going to give you critical guaranteed jump attacks for the flying ones and give you critical hammer hits for the spiky enemies. Really cool stuff. Now, enemies here are very reactive. So if they hit you first, they're going to have the advantage when starting the battle. However, when you see an enemy and they're pretty close, you always want to engage first by hitting them with the hammer before they hit you, so this happens. In this example, you can see the easy counterplug working along with the dizzying effect. Like, look at this. They hit the enemy and you can see the little dizzy thing on them. Plugs are working really nice. In this example, you can see Mario and Luigi using the anti-spike and anti-flying specialist to deal critical damage to these specific two enemies. And in this example, this is what happens when you combo the surprise iron ball with the kaboom attack. Also, fun fact, you can switch up the plugs you use mid-battle so you can adapt to any enemy or change up strategy, making every single fight very unique. Now, if you notice, there is a shell icon that is above Mario and Luigi. This is going to allow them to do something known as a bros attack. And at this current point in the game preview, they only had one bro attack each. This green shell attack from Luigi costs 5 bro points, which you can see on the bottom left meter with the same shell icon. If you select Luigi, you have to pass the shell back and forth, starting with Luigi with the B button, and it's so satisfying. If you select the red shell for Mario, you start with the A button, and this is how it plays out. Overall, combat feels really fun and rewarding, from learning all the ways that enemies attack you to even figuring out the variety of ways that you can deal with enemies and react in real time and counter and dodge them. And of course, defeating enemies equals leveling up, so let's talk about the leveling up part. On this leveling up screen, you can see there is an icon at this example at level 8, and then as we hit level 15 in this example, you can see that there is a rank up bonus, and the same symbol unlocks to reveal the bonuses that come from hitting that specific level. I honestly had a blast playing this early game preview, and it has gotten me even more hyped for the release of Mario and Luigi Brothership on November 7th, 2024, which I will be playing. Thanks Nintendo for inviting me, and subscribe if you enjoy videos like this.